Dr. Taggy runs a lot of rooms. She supports a lot of rooms in Clubhouse, and what what happened with my grandson is, he was really really severely allergic, and he's just 3 months old, screaming. We couldn't comfort him. His mom's crying, I'm crying, and they're in New York, I'm in California. That's just the most helpless feeling. I went into this room, and Dr. Taggy, right away, just from the picture, knew what was wrong with him, knew what to do, knew how to calm it. And the thing is, it's not just been going on for a few days. They've been going to ER, and then back to the pediatrician, and back to the ER again, and then to a dermatologist. So this has been going on, and he's just so much more inflamed. Like nothing was comforting him. And then Dr. Taggy and Leslie and Dr. Jill tag team. And they looked at the picture, and right off the bat, they know, Dr. Taggy knew right away, I'm thinking lymph. This doesn't look like bacteria. This looks more like a lymph problem. Okay, so yeah, Antoinette, thank you so much. You made me host back again. Now we can bring Dr. Taggy up on stage. So I am so grateful for Dr. Taggy, because when it's really really personal to you, because it's your family member that really has been helped, and it made such a difference. I mean, my heart melts. And Dr. Taggy does this for a lot of people. I'm one person, but she's on the Clubhouse stages, just loving on people, giving them, this is what you do, this is what you should change. And today, Dr. Taggy is actually coming to talk about women's energy, and hormones. So you definitely want to hear this, Dr. Taggy. Dr. Taggy, I am so grateful for you. Thank you so much for being with us. You've got Michelle, who's also an athlete and Olympian trainer. You've got me as a physical therapist, and we don't have Dr. Taggy, who's a naturopathic doctor. So we're the complete deal here. Dr. Taggy, thank you so much. What brought you to naturopathic practice? What was it that attracted you to it?
Well, I was going like the medical realm, so I was going that route. I did the pre-med, and then I was shadowing at hospital. But like a little bit about my life story. My dad was an MD, so I come from families of medical doctors, and my dad was working with Operation Smile for the cleft palate. So most of my childhood, I was going with him and started volunteering around the age of 11 and 12 in humanitarian work. So I had a very naive perception of like medicine. It was, you come in sick and you leave brand new. You come in sick and you leave brand new. So I had a little bit of the idea of like, that's what you do. And my dad was specialized in infectious disease and pediatrician health. So a lot of his work was like that. He will go to a third world country. He will go to a war zone. He will go to a place of need and literally change people's life and come back. So when I started working in the ER, and it wasn't the ER of New York City, that was not my reality. So I started realizing that a lot of it was sick care. It was prescription drugs. I was spending way more time, especially as an intern, as a level 1 medical student. A lot of my work was looking into the prescription drug and making sure, can we give them that? Can we not give them that? Most of the time we don't have, especially in Queens, we don't have their whole health history. We're an ER, we're not a PCP. And I was like, well, the same people are coming back. It's the same problem. It's one prescription for another prescription. And I even remember being told, don't worry about that. The pharmacist would catch it. So I'm like, well, what is my job then? Like, what am I doing? And mainly, I think that when I started having my own health issue, and my thing was PCOS. So I was diagnosed with that when I was 16. I moved to the US when I was about 17. And I remember being told this. So here I am surrounded by the best of the best Mount Sinai Hospital doctors and professors. And I'm being told that I either have to remove an ovary or be on prescription, like high dose hormonal birth control for the rest of my life. And I'm probably not going to be able to have kids, and I'm probably going to have IVF. And I'm like, I am 17. I am literally still qualifying as a teenager. Like, what is going on? And to make a matter worse, I grew up in Morocco. So I grew up in a culture that food was homemade. We ate from the farmer's market. Everything was naturally organic. So I didn't grow up with artificial coloring or soy or any of the food that you would think will be behind, PCOS. So I got lucky that the person that I shadowed under, she was an oncologist, but she was looking for the nutrition aspect of oncology and what the role that it plays. And I started thinking like, oh, wow, there is actually a nutrition component to this, because especially my generation it was just like low fat, don't eat fast food, but with no real care for what the nutrition is and how does that play a role. It was just a small part. And so that got me, my own personal journey got me into that, especially when I had a baby without having to go through IVF, but and didn't never took I still have both of my ovaries, so yay for me. I never had to do any of those things. That was my only choice. So going back a little bit to my childhood and looking at when I was going and seeing those remote places that didn't have a hospital nearby, they didn't have a pharmacy nearby. They used to be to use like herbs, and they used to use the local resources to heal themselves. So I was like, well, maybe there is something there. So my first thought was, I'm going to go into epidemiology and look at how can we look at local resources to heal ourselves, because we've made it millions of years. So you can't tell me that the last 50, 60 plus years of modern medicine or that is what is saving us, because we've made it for millions of years. So there is something here that we might be missing. So that's how a little bit my journey turned into. And I remember not ever hearing about naturopathic school. I didn't know it was a thing. I literally thought that like naturopathic medicine was essential oils or this or that. Like I had no understanding that it was a whole school system that was like a whole true healthcare, not sick care behind it. And most importantly, that was the norm. So 100 years ago, there were more naturopathic school in the US. That was the medicine before it got switched into medical schools and only having 6 left. So that it started with changing my life as a woman. And that's why I'm so passionate about women's health. And that what got me into naturopathic school.
That is so awesome, Dr. Taggy. We are grateful for everything that you went through with the PCOS, because it brought you to where you are right now.
Oh, 100%.
Able to help women, with their energies, with all of this. Like I was speaking to you before this, and you were saying that a lot of the women that comes to you really have all of these problems of lack of energy, hormonal problems. Tell us about what you see on your practice.
So my practice moved a lot as I am learning. So I started being specialized in hormone because that was my thing, like endometriosis, PCOS, fertility, thyroid. And then a lot of these people will come to me and they would always, like it was part of, we have the 5 top symptoms, and it was always, first thing will be a diagnosis, the second thing will be anxiety or depression. So I start switching into a neuroendocrine system, so nervous system and hormones, and seeing that most of the hormones plays both roles. Serotonin is one of them, dopamine is one of them. You cannot put one and not act on the other. So it started being adrenals, being the anxiety, being the depression, being the extreme emotional. There is I always joke, women have a very interesting way of saying they're tired. When you ask them, are you tired? And they're like, I am exhausted. And you can feel that there is the emotional exhaustion behind it, not just the physical one. When men is like, I'm tired or I'm exhausted, you can feel the physical part. But like the women, and I'm not saying that doesn't happen in men, but I'm saying in women there is this emotional exhaustion that's not talked about because it's just expected. Women multitask. Women are a mother. Women's all of these things. It's just part of being a woman. You are You may spend 2 weeks out of the month in pain. It's okay. You have your period. There is a cultural agreement that women are okay, that are, if they are functioning at a 5/10, that's fine. That's okay. That's just expected of being women. And as I was starting digging deeper, I truly learned that I joke that a diagnosis, especially for hormones, is your mind, your soul, and your body having an intervention. At first there is like anxiety, maybe like your soul and your mind being like, hey, poking at you. Your first PMS is probably your body being like, women, pay attention. But when you truly end up with a diagnosis, that's an intervention. That's all of your friends coming together and being like, hey, snap out of it, do something about this. And that's when I think, like, now I'm looking at it more from a psycho neuroendocrine system, that there is more to the story than our 3D body. And it's not just, it doesn't, when I ask my patient what has happened 5 years before the diagnosis, I used to ask that question, what happened 5 years? Now I started working on what happens in your childhood. How was your mom when you were pregnant? Because that's a huge role. We have already ovaries when our moms is pregnant of us. When our grandmother was pregnant of our mom, we are already there. We are already there somewhere in the ovaries. So that women lineage plays a huge role in preparing us to come to this environment. And the stress, the emotion, the food, everything that our mother ate when we were in the womb plays a role, because it prepares us. Are we coming out into a war zone? Should we prepare our adrenals to be on that fight or flight? Should we prepare the pumping of certain hormones? Should we be ready to be on that heightened state? Or are we being born in Lake Tahoe, like we were talking about earlier, and it's gonna be all mermaid and rainbows, and there is no need to have a high blood pressure, no need for our heart to work harder. So those are all genetic blueprints. It's like preparing us, giving us that map. It's just like our body filters language. We come with all of the sounds, but we start listening to our mother and dad and our environment talking, and we start filtering through the language. We do that in our genetic as well. We do that for our hormones as well. So there is so much more trauma that can happen that we're not aware of, that by the time we are 16, by the time we're 18, when what I call the perfect storm of the hormones and we don't take care of us, they're living in 2021, there's so much more to the story. When if someone come and see me, and now I see them being younger and younger, I don't think, even 10 years ago when I started practicing, it was mainly older women and kids, really kids. Now I see all range. I see the younger, like young 20s that are exhausted, young 20s that have depressions. So I think that's all of us just gave me as a practitioner the humbleness of knowing that there's way more to the story than the estrogen and the thyroid and the adrenals and the DHEA. There's more to the story than serotonin, dopamine, or GABA or 5-HTP. And there is more to the story that than trauma, that we agree on it as a society. So that's a little bit of what I see in my practice, is that there is more to the story. And holistic, I look at holistic with a W, not with an H. So it's WO as a whole, truly as a whole, outside of just the endocrine system, not outside of just the physical body, outside of just what we see in the naked eye or we can hear, is dig deeper. And that's probably, I think that's our job as a holistic practitioner, is to look at it as a whole, outside of what the patient is saying and what we were taught at school.
Wow, Dr. Taggy, I was like speaking on mute.
I can hear you.
So much in there. I, just the complexity of really understanding that, you know, who we are as women already existed in our mothers while our grandmothers were still having them. That's just like, you know, and how we're programmed to, like, you know, have our bodies run, whether we're protective, you know, or we, you know, with our blood pressures and such. That's just so powerful how you explain that. I've never gotten it that clear. So that's really very impactful in terms of a takeaway, doctor, because I know our time is limited and I want to honor your time. What would you say would be some tips that you can give for energy, for hormones, for women who are just like when you say they come to you and say, I'm exhausted, what are some of the things that you could say they could kind of take a look at? And of course, you have a very busy practice. I know the last time I was trying to get a hold of you, you had 3 months wait list, and then at least you're able to fit in something in 2 weeks. So um outside of what they can do on their own, what would you say is something that women who are just really exhausted can do or can start to begin to be aware of?
So I will quote myself when I said that a diagnosis or feeling a certain way is an intervention. And listen to your friends. If your friends came over and they're like, okay, we are worried about you, slow down. So slow down. That would be my first thing. And I know that anyone, I send you the link, but I have like a 7 tips that's easy to follow with magnesium in it, with practical advice in it. So if anyone wants to leave their email, I will email that to them. But so I'm not going to talk about that because that's in the PDF that I'm sharing. But the main thing I want to say is, you cannot pour from an empty jar. And the most important thing is that the jar is never empty. The jar will be filled with resentment, would be filled with irritability, would be filled with disease, would be filled with anger. So the jar doesn't just go away. It's just like food. You're either feeding yourself or feeding the disease. There is no happy medium. There is no neutral. So when you're not slowing down and taking care of yourself, you can't listen. The key to any communication, as a practitioner, as a wife, as a mom, as a relationship with myself, is listening. So when you are exhausted, it's your time to stop and listen. And believe me, my whole thing when I say is like, my specialty is self-healing. It's not the hormones. It's helping you to listen to your body so you don't need me anymore. I want you to come to see me so I can put you on supplements so you never need supplements and you never need me again. Because the whole purpose is you listen to your body. Your body would have an answer. If you eat a certain thing and you're tired, there is a cue right there that food is not right for you. And it may be different for every single one of my patients. I see over 100 of patients a week. So just look at every single one of them may have completely different diets. The key here is me giving you a little bit of guidance if there is any root cause that we need to eliminate. But the key is you listening. So my first thing is journal. Write down 1 week in your life. When you're irritable, why are you irritable? Because even triggers, we are in a society that we want to remove the triggers. It's not about the triggers. The triggers are actually an opportunity to heal. The wound is right there, is right behind it. So write down those triggers. When your husband said that, your partner, your child, or anyone said that and it pissed you off, there is a reason. There is probably a wound from your inner child, from transgenerational trauma that is telling you something. You have a belief system behind this that you haven't solved yet, and it's eating you alive. That's literally stagnant emotion that you haven't released. If you ate certain thing and you're exhausted after it, there is a sign right there. I don't care if it's the best thing on the market and we preach it if I tell you to eat something and it doesn't make you feel good, please don't listen to me and listen to your body. That's really what it is. If you do an exercise is amazing. But if you're working out and it takes you 3 days to recover, that's a sign right there that your adrenals cannot handle it. So the main thing is journal. Journal 1 week of your life and write everything down. Write down your sleep. Write down how you feel. Write down how your thoughts that you tell yourself. And pay attention. The first thing is knowledge. So have that week of logging and then see how have an assessment of what's going on and take small steps. So work with a practitioner or with a health coach or whoever you feel compelled to help you tweak those things and make the journey a little shorter. Because at the end of the day, We all come with skills and we all need each other. I have a spiritual mentor. I have a naturopathic doctor. I have like a yoga and a yogi. I have people that help me, even though those things are my specialty. So that's the same thing. Seek help, but the key here is listening to your body. Get to know your body, have that relationship that it's craving, that your soul is craving to have with you. So that would say that's the main thing. Then everything else is thing that just helping you in that journey. But the key here is getting into that relationship and listening to your body and not ignoring it. Because I always joke that like it's gonna first hit you with a feather, then with a stone, and then the brick is gonna fall over your head. It's gonna happen. It's impossible to not to avoid it, because what you resist persists, and it will persist in one way or another, either through mental health or emotional health or fatigue or physical health.
Wow, Dr. Taggy, that was incredible. I wanted to thank you, first of all, for all of your knowledge and everything that you shared. One thing that I found was the theme of everything that you were saying is to listen. And you taught us all different steps of how to do that with your process. You know, listen to your friends, listen to your body, journal about everything a week. And then what I thought was so important, which I had a question here I was going to ask you, and I think that you answered it, but I want to make sure and clarify that with you that I got the right answer. The question I had is, you said you treat 100 patients a day, and you're specialized. You want to go through the mind, body, and spirit. I mean, there is so much that you're mapping out of your patients to figure out how to help them get well. So that takes a lot of energy. So I know that, wow, 100 patients, that's a lot. That's not 15 minutes. That's quality time. And so you mentioned about how you still meet with mentors, you meet with your yogis, you practice basically all you teach. And I'm a firm believer that the best coaches and the best mentors also have coaches and mentors. Is this how you're able to keep your energy and your mind sharp?
So it's 100 patients a week, not a day. I couldn't be able to see 100 patients a day. So it is a week.
Oops, however, I misspoke.
Okay, I don't know how it's even possible. That what would that look like a day? But so which is still a lot. So we're busy.
Still a lot. 100 a week is still a lot, doctor.
Yeah, it's still a lot. However,
quite a lot for the quality. Yeah.
Yeah, and the main thing is, and this is such an important question, because by the time I am snippy, or by the time I am exhausted, or I am triggered, or I know it's never that day. It's never that day. I can look back and I can guarantee that over the last month, I started slacking on my self-care. Like I can tell that over the last month, I was not the list anymore. I tell women, you're not the top of the list. You are the list. That's your only job, is to take care of yourself. Because then again, that allows me as a practitioner, especially like not only all of everything that I do there is a lot of holding space that I need to do. I see women that are crying. I see women that I do a lot of inner child work. So there is a lot of energy that I need to make sure that the energy I'm breaking is strong enough to hold the space. So if I am not doing my part, I am doing a disservice to the people around me. And that's what I said earlier about we're never ever pouring from an empty jar. You're either pouring from a place of love and from a place of safety, or I am being triggered and I'm tired and I'm exhausted and I am acting from that place. I'm acting from a place of exhaustion, and there is an energy exchange. I also, in my practice, I do muscle testing. So I do believe that we bring our energy field. That's a whole other thing. It's like quantum health. But it's you. If I am within 9 feet from you, we have an energy exchange. If I am here supposed to be that healer or that light holder, and I am coming from a place that I haven't done my yoga, I haven't done my vibration plate, I haven't, I haven't done my movement, I haven't put myself in the list, I haven't taken care of myself. Now I'm doing that disservice to my kids, to my partner, to myself, first and foremost, but also to my patients. And I just don't think that, again, with seeing 100 patients a week and with the specialty that I have, I don't have that luxury. I would rather not go to work than showing up in that form. That's why it's very important that it is a daily practice. And yes, you do start having ways, like at the beginning of the practice, I was like every new practitioner that, oh, it's okay if I don't take lunch. Oh, if it's okay if I don't do this. Like, I want to get as many patients, I want to help as many people. But I've learned the hard way that it's not serving them. And if they're trusting me with their health, that's my responsibility. That's part of my mission, to show up as my best self so I can do the best for them. And that in the days that, like I said, when I can look back and be like, oh, it's been a month that I haven't done this, I haven't done that, I haven't met, or life got a little crazy. Now, when you start having those practices that can take 20 minutes to recenter yourself, it can take 5 minutes to do this or to do that. But the key is consistency. It's just like, you can't not sleep for 2 weeks and be like, I'm going to sleep for a day and I'm going to be okay. It's not going to work that way. So, it's the same thing. It's like you always want to look at, with nutrition, with nutrients, with food, with energy, with mind. It's always about how much you're replenishing and how much depletion. So you always want to make sure that you are winning that race, that you're putting there's more things in your checking account that you're debiting out. And this is true for everything. And mental health is part of it, and emotional health is part of it, and your energy is part of it.
So good. Dr. Taggy, thank you so much. The biggest takeaway I have is that I am the list. You're not on the top of the list. You are the list. I think my biggest takeaway, it's all coming kind of clicking together now. When we're looking at stepping out of overwhelm and stepping into your superpowers, it's like, really take care of yourself first. It boils down to really taking care of ourselves. Like you said, when you're snippy, it's not today. It's what you've been doing, cumulatively, that brought you to where you are right now. Because, we are the product of what we do to ourselves and what we do to our lives. Thank you so much for making that crystal clear. I'm like, there's not really a shortcut to recharging yourself. You get to put yourself and take care of yourself. Put yourself. Is that even right, Dr. Taggy, to say put yourself first? How would you phrase that?
I mean, I think that put yourself first, but I literally just say that's your only job. That's your only job is to take care of yourself. Everything else would flow into place. So It's not just putting myself first, because putting ourselves first, it's a little bit sometimes with especially moms, it gives them that belief system that there is a priority list and they are the top of the priority and their kids come after. And there is sometimes with society and with our belief system, there is sometimes a little bit of like resistance. It's like, what I can't put myself first because my kids does this, and I'm like, it's not about putting yourself first. That's your only job. If you want to show up, because even kids, they're little tiny energy beings. So if you come in and you tell your son, hey, bud, I want you to do this for 10 minutes. Mommy cannot talk right now. She needs to go and meditate. And it's leading by example. It's teaching your child to do the same, which is literally what you're trying to do, but you're doing it from a place where like, oh, come on, okay, I'm going to give you to eat. It's not the same thing. They can wait for 15 minutes before eating if you're doing something, but you just taught them something that's way more valuable. So when you said earlier about what is everything that we do, I say diet is everything we consume, from the thoughts that we have, from the news that we watch, from the books that we read, from the music that we listen to, from the way we interact. But that's true also for your kids. And I can say it again, those are tiny little energy beings. The energy that you bring into something is way more important than what you do. Your child can spend 5 hours being bored, but they are feeling your loving energy. You are good, you're happy, you're mimicking that happy, high energy life. you are going to help them to be more creative. You're going to help them to be more imaginative. They will be able to see what life could look like, rather than coming from home, from work, and you're tired and you're exhausted and you need to play with them because that's what you need to do as a mom, and you're snappy and you say, oh, but I am so exhausted from work. The message you're sending them, that work is exhausting, that mommy is going somewhere, that's going to this place, that comes back and it sucks the life out of her, and now she is short fused with me because she has to play with me. The energy is completely different, and I think that's way more detrimental. When you are taking care of yourself, when you are the list, you are teaching your child to be the list, and that is beyond everything else. You're teaching them that with their friends, that doesn't matter what their friends say, because what's important is how they feel. So you are teaching them something that is way more valuable than what we think we need to do in a checklist. And I think that is truly, again, about consuming. You allowing them to consume, to be in an environment where you are acting from a place of love. You're coming from a place of energy, physical energy and emotional energy. You're coming from a place of content. You're coming from a place of gratitude, like it's all of those things that I think that is extremely important to be conscious of, is that when we say putting ourselves first, there is no hierarchy. There is no list that we have. You are the only thing to worry about, because when you do so, you teach your kid to do the same. You teach your patients to do the same. You teach people that you interact with to do the same, because then they're asking, what is she, what is she doing? Like, what is her secret? And your secret is just to worry about yourself, don't worry about anything else. Just worry about yourself. That's your only mission. And when you do so, then you can actually radiate. You're overflowing. Everything that you're flowing from the outside is benefiting everyone around you. Your patient included, your family included, your friends, and everyone that gets in touch with you. You are more likely going to be the person who's going to smile at the store, and you're going to make someone's life happier. So it goes way beyond that. It does have that ripple effect when you worry about yourself.
So good. That's another big takeaway, Doctor. We're going to put that on your name. And Michelle, you're free to speak, of course, as always. But what you said about the energy of what you bring is more important than what you do. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, that is. I raised 6 kids. They grew up. I mean, they just grew. They grew up. It's unfair. I just worked and they grew. They're now 18 to 30 years old. And so, I'm guilty of that. I'm guilty of, trying to do things, as a mom, but really, kind of like half dragging myself doing it, and you're so right about that, because they see our intentions behind with what energy we bring, what's more important for us. So Dr. Taggy, thank you so much. Michelle, would you like to say something as we let Dr. Taggy go, and we'll bring Cinderella next? So thank you so much, Dr. Taggy. You dropped some real nuggets to us today. Thank you.
Dr. Taggy, I think that this was a transformational segment here, and I want to thank you for bringing your precious time and sharing with us, because I know that what you have mapped out for all of us listeners is something that everyone needs to hear, and to see how you're really teaching us how to put ourselves first, and that list, how, our loved ones are also on that list, but we have to take care of ourselves, and we are our only job. And if we're truly addressing that as our job instead of whatever that task is, then we will actually address and have that quality connection. This is really groundbreaking work that you're doing. And I'm so thankful that you're venturing outside of your practice so that more of us can gain access to you. And I have to thank you so much. How does somebody reach you in order to get more information about what you do and what you have to share and teach?
Thank you so much for having me. It's my pleasure being here. And Ava knows how much love I have for her and her family. So we became friends. I consider you a friend on Clubhouse. And so the best way to reach me is through my Instagram. They basically have both links. You can see that my private practice is linked in there. So if someone is looking for naturopathic health from a toxicity part or detox or pathogen or more of a physical diagnosis, it's in right there. You can actually click on the website and find their website. There's also the link directly to more of that energetic work that I think was is important to the healing aspects, and both of them are right there in my Instagram. I think that I saw Ava linking it in the information that she sent out. Anyone here that is willing, wants to leave their email, they will get that PDF from me as well. And yeah, so yeah, that's that. It's pretty easy, honestly. If you just Google me, I come up. So that's the sad part. But
You're a pretty unique name, doctor.
Yeah, exactly. It's not hard. It's not like, my name is Sophia or something. Like, it's very easy to, there's not that many Dr. Taggy Bensaid, but there are naturopaths, so I'm pretty easy to find.
Thank you so much, Dr. Taggy. We just want to honor you. Such a breakthrough. I'm like, my takeaways in your segment is like $1 million worth. Thank you so much, Dr. Taggy.
Absolutely. Bye.
Have a great, awesome Sunday.